Yeah, I guess I really must be in a chatty mood this evening. Log report. It's 5:42 at night. It's still the 16th of January 2023. And what's getting to me at this point over here, I got my dog driving me nuts, whether or not she actually wants her damn food or not. I was going to be talking about a certain situation happening, and that I would be uh, thinking about an old memory until my dog is still reminding me how much of a pain in the ass she can be. I was trying to remember, and I came across a name that kind of flashed in front of me, and I'm stunned. I'm stunned about this one. You ever came across, for those in the United States, I'm not talking about in Britain or England, however they're looking at themselves these days. But the thing of it is, have they ever heard of the name of Charlotte Church? Now, people my age have probably ever heard of her and came across her music back in the late 90s, almost on the cusp of 2000. 20, within 20, 25 years, this young angel came out of nowhere and singing her heart and soul out. That she was winning people left and right here in the States. In fact, my mother, when she was hearing her on public broadcast, oh man, she just went ape. She had to get a soundtrack. She had to. And we had been listening to that DVD for a long while. She also had to get herself another soundtrack, I think. And first time we saw this particular angel, my brother and I were taking care of Ma at the time when she was still alive. This is also a time when my big brother was still alive. It was back in 98, 99, somewhere in that time. She was doing her tour in the United States, different spots. The closest area would have been South Bay Mall, as we called it, Fashion Center or Fashion Square. Still a mall to us. And this particular place, we didn't know where the hell it was, but we found it on what they called back then the Thomas Guides. Got the address for it, found out where it was, got directions, and came down. We had waited with a lot of people back then, and it was like a crowd of 100 or more. We all fell in love with her music. We were inside the mall. There were certain areas that we could wait, and we were waiting in line. Ma actually had her scooter with her. My brother and I were doing most of the standing. And we would get food whenever we needed to. There was at a certain time she was going to be doing it. I think around noon or something like that. We got there about, I think, 8 or 9 o'clock, so we had to wait. We had the restrooms available. Ma would go. One of us would hold the line. She'd come back. And each of us would go, and we'd still wait. It was a hell of a time to even go shopping a little bit. But Ma wanted to get to meet the angel. She wanted her autographed real bad on a DVD. It was just crazy. But she was insisting, like every fan out there, who was brought up under different things. You know, you had to wait in line for your favorite artist, actor, important person to get a scribble. But she wanted to meet the angel in that music. It was one of her major thrills. Voice of an angel, and she was complimenting her left and right. And when she finally met her, And she was saying, "Thank you very much, thank you very much." She was blown away about how many people actually cared about her and her music. It really made my mother's day. She didn't follow the career, but she tried to follow the career as best as she could. But she listened to the music all the time. I think maybe about a couple of years later that we came back to see her, but this time she was over at the Universal, not the back lot, but the City Walk, and they actually did have a music bookstore in there. And she was autographing books. Ma wanted to get a book, wanted to get her autobiography. She wanted to meet her angel again. It was weird sometimes that I think she had Ma made her mark in some people's lives. I think if I remember if I remember it correctly, I may be wrong about this one. Maybe Miss Church can settle it somehow. But Ma had made my brother get the book, and I was still waiting in line with her. Ma's still in the scooter. I forgot what Ma was wearing during that time. I mean, there was a lot of outfits that we got rid of when she passed away, and we donated them like crazy. But she got to see her angel again, and I think Charlotte Church recognized her. I think she did. For about a minute or two, they had engaged in a conversation. And it surprised her that Miss Church that Ma would follow her. Ma had followed her. She was just engaging in it. What took me back was seeing that name. I know she became a political activist. You know, things happen in life. She's very passionate about the things happening in her country, about what's happening over there, so that's cool. But just seeing the name, I know her voice deepened quite a bit, but she was still, in my head, she is still an angel of sorts. I guess in the dark times of my mother, music actually helped her out a bit. She would listen to it once in a while when she really got depressed. The things what I regretted was not playing that music when she was still alive, but we didn't even think about it at the time. But it would have helped her out a great deal. And what hurts the most is every time I keep listening to her music, it reminds me of Mama and her. It should have been bringing happiness and joy about that kind of a memory. I mean, well, for a lot of people, but for me, every time I keep thinking about my family having moments of joy like that, and we should have had cameras to capture it, at least a still shot or two. If we had, we could have done selfies or something like that, but we didn't. It would have been special. It would have been special. Anyway, if this ever gets over to Miss Charlotte Church, I would like to thank her. I would like to thank her from the bottom of my heart because she meant the world to my mother when she needed an angel's voice. Yeah, she was going through a lot of dark periods, and at a time she would stay in a bedroom and just be depressed. It was even worse. The last several years of her life, she was at more and more enclosed. More people, she kept losing her whole family and their friends. more of a total toke on her. I guess music would have helped, but she didn't even think about it, neither did I. And we had the DVDs. We actually had the CDs buried somewhere. We just didn't dig them out for her. I wish we had. I wish we had. Because that would have meant everything to us. That would have meant everything. Some things I try to avoid like crazy concerning about triggers because it makes the memories that much harder to deal with. My brother didn't follow somebody with that much passion. He didn't. But very few people he would actually go out and get autographs from and be appreciative. He used to work at Universal Studios Hollywood a long time ago when they had companies, private companies, taking over for the security. There had been a couple of autographs he'd collect here and there. The artists are dead. The pictures still remain. They remain safe. And the stories my brother would tell me about some of those artists. He used to work for Belisarius Production, my brother would tell me. And he would do on lot and off site on locations. He would work security, protecting equipment, protecting actors, actresses, just doing his job. He remembered at times that even in working in different companies, including a sewage pumping company, he would go into Hollywood Hills and to an actor's area that used to work on McHale's Navy. You ever heard of Ernest Borgnine? Ernie, he called him. No, actually, he called him Mr. Borgnine, and Mr. Borgnine said, "Call me Ernie." My brother had met him, and both of them were Navy. What do veterans talk about, you wonder? Time served, adventures had, situations happen. My brother enjoyed those kind of visits. One of the visits I was with my brother, we actually saw him before he passed away, was Don Knotts. My brother and I grew up watching Don Knotts like crazy. We thought he was hilarious. We thought he was the warmest guy. We even heard that Andy Griffith was pretty warm too. We often heard stories that they were best of buds sometimes. I never did meet Andy Griffith, but I did meet Don Knotts. And it was a pleasure meeting that man. Everyone remembered him as Barney Fife. That was the only thing people would remember him, except some of the movies. My brother had found a VHS. It was a VHS or a DVD, one of those two. It was The Ghost of Mr. Chicken. My brother enjoyed that movie like crazy. I liked The Reluctant Astronaut better. But it was a pleasure meeting that guy. It's one thing when you go to Star Trek conventions, you see your favorite actors and actresses over there. And they wouldn't remember you. They'd meet too many damn people, except if you kept going there so many times, they would know you. You go to the conventions as a fan, you would know some of the guys working security all the time because they'd be working different clubs left and right. But these guys were active in the business in one form or another. Production mostly. Guys working security or services or whatever they'd be doing for the conventions. But these guys would be busy in them. maybe jealous and envious about these guys. These guys knew the people in the business more than I did. But then again, I wasn't even part of that business a long time ago, so I was just one of the fans, Still am. The conventions I've been to is the LA Convention Center right by the airport. No, not the convention center. The LA Airport Hilton. They had maybe about 2 or 3 conventions over there at one time, hosting Star Trek Next Generation and original series over there. Wherever creation could get a venue going, that's where they'd hide. Hold on, she must be obeyed and needs help again. That's what happens when I'm a dog owner. Give me a second. Taking care of a dog is a challenge in itself, especially when you don't know what the hell she wants to eat. Since getting that gripe and grumble off of here. Being a fan of a few things here and there, yeah, it's conventions almost no damn thing. In fact, it almost became quite boring. I mean, I've been to a lot of them in my lifetime. There's been the usual stuff. Go through the welcome board over there, get your paperwork, wander around different hallways, different rooms. You got your panels out there, people talking about their books or anything else they want to talk about, yada, yada, yada. You got your dealer room, which has a bunch of junk. You buy like crazy. If you can't get it anywhere else, you get it at the dealer table or somewhere else, or get the name and address, phone number of the companies that you're dealing with, and then you get your stuff that way. It's changed a lot over the decades. I know it has. It's been a long while since I've been to a convention. You got comic cons left and right, world cons, animes, people dressed up in superhero and sci-fi, besides the Star Trek, and various other genre subject matters out there. Yeah, I've seen a lot of them. But I tell you, it gotten to the point where I just got sick and tired of being sick and tired of all that damn stuff. And I stayed the hell away from it for a long while. I couldn't continue being a fan. I mean, enjoy the shows, yeah, but I felt like it lost its luster. And then when I started hearing more about the older generation, older than mine, still surviving and liking the, still involved. Bejo and John Trimble. These names you hadn't even heard of. But if you've been in the Star Trek genre as long as I have, maybe a little bit longer, when it first came out in '66 of September, my God, these guys were like claiming to be the number one fans and started their own welcome committee. A database for all the fans out there to get information and pass it over to Paramount. Paramount and Desilu Productions were still running Star Trek, the original series, and kept up with the reruns left and right. Paramount still owns it. Roddenberry wanted it for the fans, but Paramount still owns his ass. Still owns the right. Anything and everything in Star Trek is either privately fan based and made to be so and not for profit. But if it's for profit, Paramount wants a part of it or shuts them down. That's how it works. And while you're going through conventions, you're still buying into the licensing and everything else regarding it. And I couldn't deal with some of the fans because some of the fans I dealt with were a lot extreme sometimes, a lot weirder than I thought. And as an impressionable 20, early something young man growing almost into 30, I was dealing with that all the time. Some people were into wearing the memorabilia and other people weren't. I was into wearing the memorabilia and getting yelled at for it. Well, out in public, yeah, but if you go into different jobs, yeah, you have to watch out for the damn dress codes. sometimes fans would cross lines. I mean, serious lines. That crossed into behavior that LAPD and law enforcement would be like, yeah. Remember that one time back in the 80s, 90s, somewhere in that time? There was a law enacted because of one particular actress was stalked. I think she was murdered. Because of the stalking situation, they got stalking laws way back then that continue to these days because you still have those nut jobs out there. When you become that target fixed, it's terrifying as hell. The darker side of the fandom. I've seen some of the other fandoms out there that have gone crazier. Try having your own creation and you have an upstart coming in there getting more attention than you. Get jealous enough? Yeah. A radio show, you know, if it was still out there, it could have been podcasted if they actually had a thing. But no, they actually had radio and cable radio too. Cable radio network. From a local radio station out in Glendale to national to nearly international. And how does one fan kill it? By showing up too many damn times. Even one time when the host didn't expect it. The management loved it, especially the general management. I don't know what happened to cable radio network after that. I know what happened to the show after that. Gone. History. And sometimes as a fan that still eats at me. Knowing that sometimes obsession and compulsion and excitement can overrule and override behavior, thought patterns like crazy, and you do things that should not have been done in the first place. One time was one thing being invited on there, second time, okay. But a third, I wasn't even invited except by general management. Next thing I know, there was a lot of anger, and a lot of snide, snappy comments. And what happened after that is I left pissed off as hell, swearing off fandom like crazy. The show gets canceled, or actually pulled off the air. I was trying to be part of this world of the fandom. Offer a lot of things to the fans. Sometimes wasn't carried out enough. You know, they asked for donations. I would have gladly donated, but it didn't happen that way. So what happens? The freebies stop. But that's okay. I thought I was still part of the show, still part of the world, and I figured I wasn't afterwards. Just said screw it all. And I blamed them for it. Years later, I'm thinking to myself, I should have been taking responsibility for that damn thing. I couldn't have controlled the behavior. I could not have controlled their attitude. Actually, the main host's attitude. And I did a lot of damage. Didn't even realize it. First visit's one thing. Second visit, okay. Well, actually, I got invited it back. But the third visit, they didn't even know what that management wanted me there. It was helping out with the ratings, apparently. But she was thinking I was getting more attention because I was more animated, I guess. Something about it. I didn't know what the hell I was going on. I didn't know. I was a young kid during that time. What the hell did I know? Shit. I mean, drove me crazy and scared the living crap out of me. I mean, here I am trying to show the fans enthusiasm for the show and talk as much as I know about the show and the fans, and I'd listen to the show and listen to the interviewers. I'd listen to the host. I'd be listening like crazy for all the information I can gather because this show was into the inner workings of Paramount and of Star Trek, talking to actors, actresses, production people. In fact, a couple of them were production people in there. Now they're, I don't know what they are, still part of the studio or something else, but it was a thrill to see that one of the lowly production guys rising up because I saw his name in the Deep Space Nine episode, series of Star Trek and then Voyager. I'm like, holy shit, he really made his mark. Yeah, the guy didn't know. But the woman who was doing all this, I wish we had a conversation with her, you know? It was one of the things I still regret these days because I wish I had a conversation with her. I could have talked to her. I could have talked to her. Even after the first or second show, we could have had a conversation right afterwards. I mean, a serious conversation between the fandoms of the things and how to behave. Even after the third one. I mean, it could have happened, but it didn't. We left. We left on bad terms. I didn't discover but years later that she had a heart attack and passed away. And there was no way to make up that. Well over 20, 25 years, maybe 30 years ago. This was her dream. This was her thing. And I still felt responsible for it. She may have had the attitude that I was taking over her thing. An overzealous fan. And maybe I was an overzealous fan. And yeah, I still could blame her for everything else in the damn thing. But I still have to take responsibility for my own, okay? I still have to. Because this is me. And I have to. It just hurts that way. It just hurts that hell. I also know that there's been some times that being a fan, besides being fun, there's also the dark sides, and I've been trying to talk about that one or two. So many things to be a fan of that you're enthused about. Yeah, I wear the Star Trek stuff from time to time because, born in it, lived it, loved it. Probably die a fan. I liked all the series. I mean, I'm trying to enjoy a few of them that, just didn't ring a bell, but maybe one way or another it would have. So I had to keep thinking about different alternatives concerning about Star Trek. But it's still part of the genre, so I just said hell with it. Just deal with it. Deal with it, enjoy it, and just go with the punches. Some fans are so damn diehard, it's not even funny. They're purists. Let them be purists. They said it was infinite diversity and infinite combinations. Well, sometimes when you're a purist, you doesn't even think that way. Infinite diversity within your purist view, and it also deals with real life in the first place. So. I just wanted to say from a fan's point of view of a lot of things that, yeah, I can be enthused about it. I can be enthralled about it. I can go nuts over the damn thing. I can collect memorabilia about the thing. I can go crazy over it if I wanted to. You know, even after when Ma died, David passed away. I was still trying to collect a few things here and there. You can even be a Disney snob about things too. I collect a lot of Disney stuff too. Just to, I don't know, just to be me. Pin fanatic for a long while, went to air shows and different places that actually would have collectible lapel pins here and there. I'd be collecting left and right. Have you seen some of my videos, you would know this one. Babylon 5. Earth Alliance, you would know this one. Picard. But it's still Star Trek next. It's still Star Trek, the universe anyway. It's not the only show I would watch and fall in love with, but it is something I still dealt with. What the hell was that just dropped down? I hate it when things drop down. Don't even know what the hell they are. Anyway, is that where the other thing went? But, yeah. Junk I'll be collecting in here anyway. It's supposed to be a magnet, but the magnet's already worn off, so. Keep an angel in the pocket. But it's concerning about the Disney stuff. Give me a couple seconds. This is going to be on the taping here, so just bear with me here. At home, always know where your grabber's at. Emergency contact. Yeah, I still have to have a emergency contact of sorts. Is that where the damn thing fell? I thought I was going to have problems with this one. Alright. That's going to be trash. Okay. Disney fanatic for a long while, concerned about pin collecting. Does that tell you something what's going to be happening sometime soon? So, when you're having glasses, always have a glass cleaner with you. There's another video out there somewhere concerning about pin collecting and stuff. I really got to do a revised one on it. Here's the thing, sometimes I just have to remind myself of certain priorities are still taking place and what's important and what's not important. Sometimes I do think that pin collecting is important, but then when I start collecting about nearly 25 pounds of metal and plastic and everything else on these things, you discover real fast, especially when you run into life's little challenges, that what becomes important becomes disposable. I hate to say that, but I have to say it anyway. So, even if this one happens to get to Miss Charlotte Church, or to any of the actors and actresses who might be watching this damn thing and wondering, who the hell is this schmuck? I wouldn't put it past you for me being a schmuck. I would not put it past you. The only thing I can say is I do these things on a diary of the griever named John Weaver, and that would be me at this point over here because I have to talk about my experiences, my experience, strength, and if there is any hope left of surviving life itself. I'm doing it for my own self, but I'm also doing it for maybe other people left and right because they need to know something. If I happen to pass away and there's going to be the lasting words in my life, well, they'll be on posting. They'll be out there. They'll be shown. And people will be wondering, what the hell is with this schmuck? I'm a schmuck. So, this was part one of Fan. I may do another one about fandom again sometime. So, switch back to the other laptop so I can keep track of what the hell's going on with the news, weather, and everything else falling apart these days in life. Later, guys.